If you're applying for a promotion or a leadership position, one question ay tatanong sa inyo is, how are you as a leader? How do you answer that question? Yan pag-uusapan natin in this new Get Hired podcast episode. Hi there, thank you for checking out my channel. Thank you for clicking on this video. If this is the first video that you're watching from my channel, I make educational and motivational content. This video right here is part of our Get Hired series. It's a live podcast recording of a Get Hired podcast episode. If hindi pa kayo aware, we have a podcast dedicated sa mga job hunters or sa mga people who need advice pagdating sa career. And again, thank you so much for making it possible for us to be part ng top, I think nasa top 17 tayo at the time I'm recording this video sa Spotify. So maraming salamat sa mga nagpo-follow sa podcast natin on Spotify, sa mga nakikinig, and of course sa mga nag-share ng podcast sa friends nila. You really make all of this possible. So thank you sa inyong lahat. And again, like I said kanina, pag-usapan natin yung sagot sa tanong na how are you as a leader? How can you sell yourself pagdating sa job interview kung ito yung tanong? Alright? Now, this question right here, how are you as a leader, is something na pinadala ng isa sa ating mga listeners sa Get Hired podcast. I think he applied for a position way back when we started back in 2018. Pero ngayon, nung siya ay nakapasok na sa company ng 2018, ngayon, 2021, ready na siya for a promotion. And the promotion requires him to be in a leadership position. He's going to have to manage people. He's going to have to lead a team. And because yun yung bago niyang position, expected na itatanong sa kanya ito, how are you as a leader? And whether you are vying for a promotion or a starting job in which magkakaroon ka ng mga tao under you or magkakaroon ka ng team that you're going to handle, this is something that you really have to prove sa inyong job interviews. I'm going to talk about 3 things that you need to focus on when you answer this question sa inyong interview. Okay? 3 S's para madaling tandaan, and we're going to jump into yung unang-una sa kanila ngayon. Okay? Now, the first S. Okay? So all of them are S's. The first S that you have to remember is a story. You have to tell a story kapag tinanong kayo na how are you as a leader. And again, hindi lang naman sa job interview to. Minsan kahit sa college entrance interviews or kahit sa mga scholarship interviews, pwedeng itanong to sa inyo. What you could do would be to tell a story. Okay? Ano ba yung mga specific instances in your life that you showcased yung leadership potential ninyo or actual leadership skills? Okay? So tell a story about how you led a project, whether thesis lang yan, whether it's a student organization arm or the entire student organization, bakit naman hindi? If you're talking about your job, you can talk about how you volunteered for certain in-house projects like mga summer team building program, kung ikaw ay nag-participate dyan, ikaw ba ang in charge sa games? Ikaw ba ang in charge sa program? Meron ka bang mga maliliit na projects na binuo kahit na employee ka pa lang ng company? So again, you have to tell a story. You can also draw from your past jobs. Okay? Kung hindi man dito sa company na ito, if you used to work for a previous organization, ano yung mga ginawa mo doon? So you have to tell a story about that. Now, if you're a fresh grad who's trying to start sa mas mataas na position right away, what you could talk about would be volunteer work. Okay? And I'm sharing this story because that's how I did things no ako ay fresh grad pa. I went into a number of organizations na medyo mataas na yung position. In fact, my first stint sa HR, binigyan na sa akin yung position ng HRD head. OIC, kasi hindi pa ako graduate nun and hindi pa nila pwede ibigay sa akin title. Pero HRD head na talaga ako. And the reason why I got that position was I talked about my volunteer work sa church. Yes, sa church. So for any of you who volunteer sa church, sa school, sa ibang non-profit organizations, lahat yan pwede nyong i-leverage pagdating sa proof na kayo ay mahusay na leader. So again, you have to tell your story. So what I did during the interview was I talked about how many kids we used to handle. So I was part of yung ASTIG, ASTIG ang tawag sa amin nun, yung Youth Leadership Organization ng church namin, which we founded, kasama ako dun sa mga nagsimula doon. Kami yung mga gumawa ng organization, bumuo ng organization. I was the one who wrote a number of modules that we followed pagdating sa doctrine, pagdating sa ministerial skills ng mga bata. I organized events, mga youth camps, mga learning programs, outreach programs, etc. And of course, I led a bunch of volunteers. Actually, sasabihin ko sa inyo na mas malakas na proof that you are a leader if you handle volunteers than if you handle mga actual na employees sa company. Now, why do I say that? Kasi when we're talking about volunteers, hindi sila incentivized by money. Okay, ano ibig sabihin nun? Hindi sila binabayaran eh. So, for you to get the volunteers to follow your leadership and to listen to you and to actually succeed dito sa mga programs nito, ang ibig sabihin nun is that you are a good leader, you're a good motivator. Kasi kahit hindi mo sila binabayaran, they still show up to do their jobs and to work for a cause. So, in that way, you can show na, okay, I can throw a vision, I can lead a team, and we can make it happen kahit minimal yung budget. Okay? So again, think about that. Tell your story. When you were a student, paano ka nag-lead? Talk about past work experiences or current work experience kung meron kang kahit paano mini-mentor. And then yung third would be yung volunteer work mo. Okay? So na kung ang sagot niyo sa akin is, wala akong leadership story at all. Okay? Pwede kayong bumalik dun sa, paano kayo sa bahay? Ate ka ba? Kuya ka ba? Do your parents trust you with your siblings when they leave the house? That is, in many ways, a leadership position. Kung wala pa rin, ang masasabi ko na would be for you to go and seek out opportunities like this. Kasi nga, again, kakailanganin siya eventually when you apply for a job. Okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is your leadership style. Okay? So, kanina story, second S natin is style. Now, dito na papasok yung kapag, again, wala ka masyadong concrete na experience, wala ka talaga matuturo sa iyong past na naging leader ka at any point, you can talk about your style instead. So, just talk about how you are a leader by example. Again, if this is true for you, kasi kung hindi naman totoo sa inyo, wag nyo naman sabihin kasi that would be a lie. Pero sabihin nyo lang, I tend to lead by example. I am not very vocal, but what I do is I try to keep people in check by showing them how it's done instead of telling them how it's done. So, I know yung line na yon, which you can actually parrot or copy from me, is something that sounds really good, but you can get away na pag sinabi nyo na yan, kahit na kumbaga wala kang concrete na leadership experience, medyo makakalusot tayo doon. You can also showcase your communication skills. Okay? Tell them that you were able to encourage people via email or via mobile communication. Lalo na ngayon, nasa pandemic tayo. This is something na hinahanap ng maraming companies these days. Paano kayo nagko-function kung online na lang lahat? So talk about that. Talk about how you can motivate people with with a very smart email or with a nicely worded encouragement. Diba? Showcase your communication skills. That could be another leadership style. So tell them about how you want to talk to people one-on-one. You are not afraid of confrontation. You're not afraid to call them out when they do bad things. And of course, you're generous with your encouraging comments. And if you do that, at least they have this faith na, okay, leader nga siya kasi alam niya yung required when it comes to communicating as a leader. Now, another thing that you could talk about when it comes to your leadership style is your ability to learn. Okay? Now, this is something that if the company is still growing or medyo mas bata pa yung company, ma-appreciate nila ito. If you tell them that, you know what, I listen and I learn from anyone and everyone. And again, yung favorite nating magic line sa Get Hired podcast na everything is a learning experience. From the good, you learn what to do. From the bad, you learn what not to do. You can actually throw that in if you haven't said it during your entire interview. But what that shows dun sa nag-interview sa'yo is that when you lead, you're not going to be this authoritarian leader na kailangan sundin ka ng lahat because you're the boss, but you're going to be open pagdating sa communicating and learning from your subordinates. And these days, it's actually one of the strongest na skills when it comes to selecting possible leaders or potential leaders for an organization. People want leaders who can talk to people. Okay? Gone are the days na, alam mo yun, yung boss, papasok lang sa kwarto, magme-memo, o kaya magagalit na lang pag may ginawa kang mali. Iba na ngayon. Iba na yung communication, iba na yung rapport sa team. So you really have to establish that your style is flexible and that you listen to people. Okay? Now, another thing, this is a secret, kumbaga parang umami to, on top of your answer pagdating sa tanong na to, you can say something like this. I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes. And I know that's not something that you expect from a leader per se, but I think that's a very valuable skill when it comes to earning your employees' trust. When it comes to cultivating a positive relationship within your team. When it comes to motivating them for things more than the task at hand. Now again, pag pinakinggan mo kasi yung, okay, I'm not afraid to admit my mistakes. Yung iba ang tingin nila doon, masama yun about leadership kasi kapag leader ka, dapat hindi ka nagkakamali. But again, these days, if you're able to explain that line right there, that could actually push you over the top. So kung lahat kayo, di ba, nag-showcase ka, leader ako. Pero ang pandagdag mo is, okay, I listen to my teammates, I learn from my mistakes, and I'm not afraid to take ownership of my actions. Yun yung parang mapapangiti yung hiring manager ninyo or yung CEO nyo or yung boss ninyo. Kasi okay, this candidate is different sa iba. Okay? So again, you have to talk about your leadership style. The final S, I would argue, is the most important. Okay? So tatlo to, di ba? You have your story, your style, and yung third S. Ito yung pinaka magiging defining moment for you. It's called the sales pitch. Okay? Now, you may say parang, coach, hindi naman sales yung job interview, di ba? Hindi naman sales yung pag tinanong ka kung paano ka maging leader. But actually, everything in life, if you think about how we frame things, has an angle ng sales pitch. Like even talking to people, even recording this video, talking to you, I'm actually live streaming at the time that I'm recording this sa Kumu, sa TikTok. Even this interaction is medyo, may onting layer yan ng pagiging sales pitch. Kasi you want the other person to feel good, to feel positive about you. You want to be able to showcase your strengths. You want them to be convinced that you are a good choice. Now, if you're really confident about the way that you framed your first two S's, or if at the time na you're answering this question, nafe-feel mo na medyo nasusway na siya, or nakikita mo rin na parang medyo bored na siya, whether good or bad yung nangyayari, you can really hook them by saying something like this. Just say, here's something I can do for this company. Here's something I can do for you. Okay? Now, syempre, hindi mo lang pwede sabihin yon na ganun lang and then you end it there. You really have to have concrete examples ng kung ano yung may contribute nyo sa team as a leader. Now, what can you do? Now, a number of aspects that you can say na you can impact would be when it comes to the human touch or a human resource. You can frame it like this. Here's what I can do for the company if I become a leader of a team. Actually, alalagyan ko ng tag yun eh. Actually, even if you don't pick me as a leader, I will try my best to keep doing what I can, whether I'm in a leadership position or just part of the team, to do these and then list this down. Okay? First, I believe that human resource is the most important resource in any company. Now, that line right there, ano yan, nasa Bible ng HR managers yan. So, this is kind of my, parang backdoor type na situation. Tips, tricks, and techniques talaga yung datingan natin. Pero that's how we define human resource. We believe, ako as a psychology major, nag-industrial psych ako, and of course, nag-board din ako when it comes to IO. Lahat kami, we believe that human resource is the most important resource sa company, which is true, right? Kasi kahit na napakaganda ng product mo or you have the best technology, if you don't have people who handle the sales, the marketing, the maintenance of the company, the production, or even human resource, wala yung company na yan. So use that line right there. I believe that human resource is the most important resource in any company. And I believe that I can encourage people to participate more, to be more involved. I know how it is to motivate people. I know how it is to train people. And I know how it is to address bad behavior. Okay? Now, if you talk about that with confidence, that becomes your selling point. Okay? Now, another thing you can do is this. If you're pitching na, okay, here's what I can do for your company. If you have solid numbers, and I keep saying this to you, this is actually very important. If you were part of a previous organization, look at their sales, kunyari, ano yung number ng percentage na ginrow ng company after you joined the company, ano yung mga projects that you pioneered in the company that made things more efficient for them. You could say that I reduced the cost of producing, say, this microchip by 3%. Now, I know that isn't that much if you think about it in terms of the number, but 3% really makes a huge impact in the company's overhead. So if you say something like that, meron ka talagang figures na mula nang pumasok ako sa team na to, tumaas yung sales namin, bumaba yung cost ng production namin, ito yung naging contribution ko. Yung attrition rate, di ba? Yung buong team ko before, kompleto kami, pumasok, nag-grow yung team ko, walang nag-resign, walang umalis, walang nagkaroon ng kaso. Attendance namin is 100%. If you're able to quantify these things, sigurado yan, makukuha niyo yung position. Okay? So again, you have to find your unique selling point. At the end of the day, job interviews are sales. Okay? Nasa sales yan. You're selling yourself, you're selling your skills, you're selling your ability, your potential, and you're hoping that they take a chance on you. That's all a job interview is. And you have to make sure that they see the best parts of you kasi yun yung pwedeng maging defining na moment para ikaw yung piliin nila over everyone else. Okay? So again, 3 S's when it comes to the question na how are you as a leader. Tell your story, talk about previous experiences, actual experiences, and how things worked out. Talk about your leadership style. How are you as a communicator? How are you as a leader? How are you as a modern professional at the time of online everything? Di ba? Nakapag-adjust ka ba? Nakapag-adapt ka ba well? And then yung third S is your sales pitch. Talk about what you can do for the company if they choose you. And if you work through this flow, okay, if you're able to really share the best of you, then I believe that you will be given an opportunity to lead a team. Okay? But again, think about it this way. And I just want to end with this encouragement. No? Now, when it comes to looking for a job, when it comes to applying for a job, a lot of people get discouraged kapag hindi nila nakukuha yung trabaho agad. Pero ako, hindi ako nag-adhere doon eh. Na parang pag hindi ako napili for a job position, ibig sabihin, weak ako, ibig sabihin, I don't deserve this, ibig sabihin, I'm worth nothing. Hindi ganon. Kadalasan, ang ibig sabihin lang doon is that you are not a perfect fit for the company. And all that you have to do after that is try again. Okay? So try again and then just build your skills. Make sure that you collect more experience para meron kayong proof of concept for the next time that you're up for an interview or up for a promotion. Para next time kayo na yung mapili. The world belongs sa mga people na mabilis mag-move on. Okay? So even if you don't get picked, even if you did your very best, I hope that you find encouragement dito sa sasabihin ko that sometimes we don't get chosen hindi because kulang tayo, but because masyadong maliit yung opportunity na yun for us. Kasi I believe in God, so I would say God is preparing a bigger opportunity for you in the future. So the best thing that you can do is to make sure that you're ready for that next opportunity. Magpalakas, magpatapang, di ba? Magpagaling, tapos sabak uli. Right, so that's the podcast episode for today. Again, if you haven't listened to the Get Hired podcast, the link will be in the description box din sa baba. Go and find that sa Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. And sana makatulong kami sa paghahanap ninyo ng trabaho. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that bell icon. We have more videos coming up. And as we always say, this channel will never stop learning. Adja Kanya. See you in the next video, and bye for now.